As we all now know, Ian Machado's wife has written a book called How to Be a Wag. Not to be outdone, Ian himself just wrote a book, and it's called How to Be a Now, this book hasn't officially been released yet, but late last night, I received a leaked copy of the first draft. Ian, you might want to try being nicer to the interns at your publishing company. I will now read some excerpts from this, frankly, shocking book. Chapter 1. Honor thy wife's ex-husband. If it wasn't for my wife's ex-husband, I wouldn't have my new name, Machado. I am so honored to take his last name, because Machado is such a masculine-sounding name, and I pride myself on being a very strong, masculine man with traditional values. And that's why when my wife asked me if her ex-husband could come stay with us, I jumped at the chance. In fact, it was my idea for him to stay in our bedroom while I slept on the couch downstairs. At first, I regretted my decision because of all the animalistic noises that emanated from that room all night long. I'm an elite athlete and I need quality sleep for recovery from my training. But I held the course because I realized that the long hours of loud grunting and screaming are just arguments, that they're working through their past issues so we can all live together peacefully as one big happy family. However, I really need to invest in a better mattress for them. You see, every morning my wife comes limping down the stairs, bow-legged, and she can't sit down for breakfast unless I put a thick, soft pillow on her dining chair. I figure the mattress is far too firm and is doing harm to her backside. That would also explain why she moans all night long. Chapter 2. The Power of Veganism. When my wife's ex-husband first moved in with us, he told me that I could take my performance to the next level by changing my diet. I was all ears, because I will do anything to become a champion. He told me I must switch to a vegan diet at once. Naturally, I was skeptical of consuming a vegan diet as a fighter, so he made me an offer. He said he will eat an animal-based diet to serve as a control group so I can compare my vegan results to his. What a guy. To sacrifice his body to improve mine. To harm his own health to prove the superiority of veganism. I am even more proud to have his last name. He even insisted on being my personal nutritionist, planning my entire diet for a mere 50% of my earnings. I happily agreed and was excited to get started. He immediately put me on a strict diet of soybeans and soy milk. I am to consume nothing else. Honestly, I enjoy the simplicity of this diet. But what I enjoy most is cooking ribeye steaks for Mr. Machado multiple times a day as he sacrifices his body to show me the power of veganism. He insists that the meat must be fresh, never frozen. So every morning after my bowl of soybeans and soy milk, I head to the market to buy him his fresh steaks for the day. And every time I return home, I hear them back in their bedroom working through their problems loudly, vigorously, and rhythmically. Those Brazilians are very passionate. The entire house shakes as they process their trauma. I am so happy they keep our baby out of these arguments by leaving him face first on the floor downstairs, crying in a soiled diaper, because that gives me a chance to be dad when I get home from shopping. My wife and her ex-husband usually spend another 3 hours in the morning right after breakfast working through their issues in private upstairs. When they come out, I get to work on preparing Mr. Machado's steak. He says he loses a lot of zinc every day, and apparently red meat is chock full of it. But otherwise, meat is poison, as he says. He's such a helpful person. And here's just one example. Since I'm too busy preparing his steak to find a pillow for my wife to sit on, he offers to let her sit on his lap. The sound of her giggling really lights up my day. She's so clumsy though. Every time, just like clockwork, she'll drop a fork or knife on the floor. It's so funny. Then she goes under the table to find it, but it takes forever. She's always under there for such a long time that Mr. Machado gets so bored that his eyes roll back in his head and he groans. When she does come back up, her mascara has run down her face like she's been crying. I guess she got frustrated having so much trouble finding the fallen utensil. Sometimes I wonder if her eyesight is going. She is, after all, 40 years young. Anyway, once the steak is ready, I serve it to Mr. Machado. I do this fun thing where I dress up like a butler with a towel folded over my arm. We all have a big laugh. Sometimes the laughter abruptly comes to an end if it turns out I overcooked his steak. Mr. Machado loves it rare, and he will reprimand me for cooking it any further. He will spit it out, announcing that it's not fit for a stray dog in a favela. I quickly apologize and run back to the kitchen to try again. Sometimes it will take many, many attempts before he is satisfied. Frankly, this can get quite expensive, and it's most of the reason I am fighting, to pay for my failures in the kitchen. But when I get it right, it's the most gratifying feeling in the entire world. When he finishes his steak, he pats me on the head and calls me a good little boy. And then he sweeps my wife off her feet and carries her over his shoulder up the stairs into the bedroom where they stay until their next meal. I spend this time looking after our baby and bottle feeding him a soy formula personally selected by Mr. Machado. Chapter 3. The Dark Arts of Brazil. Yesterday, I prepared what I thought was the perfect rare steak for the man of the house. While the steak was resting, I took that time to don my butler outfit. I then went upstairs to notify Mr. Machado that his lunch was ready. I knocked on the door, but there was no answer. I knocked again. Still no answer. So I carefully opened the door, and what I saw shocked me. Mr. Machado and my wife were in the north-south position, and my sweet angel was performing a J move on him. I had no idea Mr. Machado was a jiu-jitsu instructor, but I was so happy to see he was teaching my wife self-defense. I know it was for self-defense and not for competition, because they were training no-gi jiu-jitsu, as they were both completely naked, their sweaty bodies glistening from exertion. I clapped enthusiastically, telling them just how beautiful their jiu-jitsu was. My wife tried to respond, but she was unintelligible, her words all garbled. But Master Machado turned to me and said, "You like my jiu-jitsu? Watch this." In one fluid motion, he swung himself around and landed in her guard. My wife screamed and started bucking against him wildly. Grandmaster Machado turned to me with a look of intensity I have never seen from him before, and he yelled, "Steady my buttocks!" I replied, "Yes, sir," and ran over to help him. I gripped his glutes from behind with both of my hands. It was difficult getting a good grip because of all the sweat on his firm cheeks, but together we rhythmically thrusted against my wife. I think we were trying to break her guard, but I'm not the ground expert, so I can't say for sure. Anyway, after about 45 minutes of this constant thrusting, Sensei Machado finally broke out of her guard, popped up, turned to me and yelled, "Now watch me finish." Oh, Jesus Christ, I can't read this anymore. What the hell, dude? What is this? This whole situation is just beyond disturbing. God. I mean, let's just look at the facts here. So many years ago, his now wife wrote a book about how to date and marry young, rich athletes. That's what WAG stands for, wife and girlfriend. She then does exactly this, marrying a young Ian Garry. He is currently 26. She is 40 years old. But here's the thing. She's divorced and still has her ex-husband's name. So what does Ian do? Well, he takes the ex-husband's last name. But we're just getting started here, folks. He has a kid with this woman. At least I think it's his kid. And now they all live together with the ex-husband. But wait, there's more. Her ex-husband becomes his nutritionist and puts Ian, a UFC fighter, on a vegan diet. Oh, and to top it all off, his wife is now his manager. So those are the facts. What makes this whole situation extra disturbing is how Ian Machado carries himself in front of the camera at press conferences. And here's what I mean by that. Everything I just stated about his private life, there are people out there who live like that. I mean, cucks are actually a thing. I know it's an insult we throw around now, but there are people who have those types of lifestyles. But what makes this Ian Machado situation so perplexing, so odd, is that his outward appearance, the face he puts forward for everybody, is the type of person that is the complete opposite of the type of person that would have his private life. You would imagine that someone who is a cuck would be meek, wouldn't be really cocky, wouldn't be putting on this alpha male persona. I mean, at the press conference with Neil Magny, he didn't even let him talk. He did not let Neil Magny talk. He was trying to take control of the entire press conference. Like, he's the alpha male of alpha males. You shut up, you do not talk. You only talk if I let you. And he didn't. You do not imagine someone like that to then go back home and be fed soy milk by his wife's ex-husband, who he shares a last name with. That's what's perplexing, okay? I'm not just going to be randomly making fun of cucks out there. You make that lifestyle choice, that's your problem. But to be dollar store Conor McGregor and yet have this as your private life is so odd because it's so not congruent. Take Conor, for example. He had the whole alpha male, I'm in charge, I run this company energy. And in his private life, he has a wife who bears his children, and he goes out and has relations with a bunch of random chicks. That is what you would expect for somebody with that level of swagger. His private life, think what you will of it, is congruent with the image he puts forth. It all makes sense. Ian Garry is not congruent. He puts this apex predator persona out there and then goes home and rubs his wife's ex-husband's feet. It's odd, man. It's odd. And it's even more odd if he's not just putting on a show in front of the cameras. If he actually is that cocky, smug type of person, which I think he is, and yet goes home to his cuck lifestyle. I don't get it. This is so confusing and frankly disturbing. And I think that's why everybody's making such a big deal of it. If he was just some quiet, mild-mannered guy working in a cubicle with his pocket protector and this was his life, sure, people at the water cooler would be like, geez, yikes. But when you're the cockiest dude in the room and that's your private life, what the hell? This is weird and I don't like it.